everyone's here. I hope everyone was able to find me okay. I'm not sure you guys were able to find me okay. I couldn't figure out how to do the scheduled live. So I'm looking into this. I just wanted to get online and make sure I got a hold of you before anything else happened. I'm going to be messaging people. Hang on a second. On my phone. This is not good. This is not good at all. Not at all. Bit of a situation here. I am not very good with YouTube yet, and I didn't know how to make it so that I could do the scheduled post and not do this. I'm going to log off of here, I think, in a few minutes, and then keep trying, or I can keep trying now, I guess. No, that's going to make me leave the site. I didn't know how to get my, regular. I didn't know how to get my regular stuff done because I was trying to figure out how to schedule a time so I would have a link to give you guys. And then I couldn't figure that out. So that was kind of a problem. A big problem. But anyway, I'm doing alright. Still on the IV antifungals. But they run 24/7, which is kind of nice, and then they deliver a dose every certain amount of time, like every 6 hours. So that's pretty cool. So I don't have to worry about keep hanging new bags of antibiotic. And I'm feeling a lot better. So that's good. That's something at least. I'm just messaging everyone that I messaged. This is such a mess. I'm so sorry, guys. So sorry. I don't know why this isn't working. Alright. You know what? I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and do my video and see if people will watch it afterward and hope that that's what happens, because no one's showing up here and everyone I messaged probably went to the scheduled one that they were supposed to show up on, which makes sense, but I couldn't figure out how to get on and how to sign on to the one that I was supposed to sign on to. So I am just gonna do a video where I just read what I was gonna read, and later on people can just go back and watch this video. Alright, so we'll do that. That's what we'll do. Okay. I see you chatting, Jerry. Oh no, you're on Messenger. Hi, Grace. So we got 2 people on. Well, that's good. This is a bit of a disappointment. I don't know if you guys can spread the word to your friends about my YouTube videos. When I'm gonna try to give you guys more advance notice, and let you know more advance. I do have a Facebook Live happening tomorrow, and if you guys could spread the word about it and just get me more people to view it, that would be amazing. If you could tell all your friends about it, I'll send you the link. And that one, I know how to use Facebook really, really well. Like Facebook, I know my way around it all the way. And hey, Gabrielle, nice to see you. I'm glad you're here. I was just saying, if you guys can spread the word about my videos, both on here and on Facebook, I'm doing another live on Facebook tomorrow. I forget what chapter I'm reading, but I think I'm reading Was I Ever Normal, which is a totally different book, but I can't remember what I'm reading. But I'm reading something tomorrow, and if you guys can just spread the word on what I'm reading, that I'm reading stuff, it would just be really amazing, because then I would have more people viewing my work and hearing my work and reading my work, and that would just make me so, so happy, because that is what makes me the happiest thing in the world, is when I know people are reading my writing or hearing my writing. All right, let me get to where I was going to read. So this starts off as Destiny's perspective. And in the book, you're going to see that there's Destiny's perspective, and then there's also her mom's perspective. Her mom's perspective is always in regular lettering, and Destiny's perspective is always in italics. So this is Destiny's perspective. My new therapist, Tessa, always wore long skirts with pretty purples and blues and turquoises in them. She had a gentler face than Mary and didn't roll her eyes or sigh when I spoke to her. I was done keeping secrets and hiding and covering up. I laid it all on the table. As I spoke about the bad man and the storyteller and the blood and the cameras in the walls, the bad man began screaming, and blood began pouring down the walls. I could feel my familiar panic rising from within. I began to feel terrified that I was about to lose it in her office. And then She would never want to work with me again. Is it happening now? She asked me. I nodded. Let's see that little stuffed lamb of yours, she told me. Blinky had been tucked tightly under my arm. I moved her in front of me. How does Blinky feel in your hands? Tessa asked me. Soft, I whispered. Can you give her a big hug and breathe in what she smells like? Asked Tessa. I hugged Blinky tightly and inhaled near her head. She smells like my bedroom and my Dove deodorant, I told her. Tessa continued to walk me through observations of Blinky until I was calm enough so that I was able to ignore the screaming and the blood, which by then had also lessened up some. After Tessa had worked with me for several months, she explained to me that she knew what my mental health diagnosis was. I started to get nervous. I had looked up that borderline personality disorder diagnosis that Windtree Hospital and Mary had diagnosed me with, and it just didn't fit at all. Was this going to be another diagnosis like that? You have childhood onset schizoaffective disorder, she explained to me. What's that mean? I asked. It means that you have a combination of schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, and that you have had it since before you were 12 years old, she explained to me. I wasn't at all surprised. It made sense. Unlike some people with psychotic disorders, I was aware that something was wrong with me, that my five senses were feeding me the wrong information. Instead of being scared by the diagnosis, I felt relieved. We had a name for what was going on, and now we could work on dealing with it. Tessa explained that she would help me come up with coping skills to deal with difficult symptoms, and that it was equally important for me to get on the right medications, since what I had was a biologically based brain disorder. Tessa also added that it was important for my parents to understand more about what was going on in my head. I tried to tell them, I started to explain to Tessa, but my voice broke and I felt like I was going to cry. They don't believe me because of what the other therapists and hospital people said, I told her. I told her about all the other times that I tried to tell people about what was happening and how they always called me a liar. I think what happened is that most kids don't develop schizoaffective disorder or schizophrenia until they're teenagers or older. You have a rare problem, which is a childhood onset schizoaffective disorder. Childhood onset schizoaffective disorder affects less than 1 in 40,000 children. It's easier to jump to issues like depression or PTSD, which occur much more frequently in children. Also, once you got slapped with the PTSD and borderline personality disorder labels, everyone just immediately assumes that those diagnoses are the cause of all the mental health symptoms you experience. They teach you in medical school to think horses, not zebras. Always think of the most common conditions first. Don't think of all the rare conditions. You, my friend, are a zebra. You are what people are trained not to think of, Tessa explained to me. I felt so happy to finally understand and be understood that tears were budding in the corners of my eyes. Several weeks later, my parents drove me into New York City to meet with Dr. Wallace, who, they explained to me, was the leading child psychopharmacologist in the country. I remembered what Tessa had told me about how important medications were for someone with my condition, as I was 100% invested. So I was 100% invested in making sure this appointment went well and that Dr. Wallace understood me so that she could prescribe the right medication. I knew after having the Department of Mental Health involved in my life also meant that I was on a wait list for a residential treatment center, which was a dark storm cloud hanging over my life. When we got to the office, Dr. Wallace spoke to my parents first, and then called me in alone. She asked me a whole bunch of questions, had me fill out some multiple choice questionnaires, and had me look at some pictures and tell her a story about what was going on in the picture. Then she asked me some more questions, like if I had any superpowers, or if I could read minds. I explained to her how sometimes I could read other people's thoughts, or get super strength when I was upset. She asked me how a train and a bus were alike, and I had no idea how to answer that question. She asked me about times I felt happy, sad, mad, or anxious. She said 3 words, told me to remember them, then asked me if I had any friends. I told her how I never really knew how to make friends. Then she asked me to tell her the 3 words again. I was so embarrassed. The 3 words had flown out of my head. There were too many whispers and laughing and hissing going on to even begin to remember those 3 words. I felt like I had failed her test, and that now she would think I was stupid or something. It's okay, she assured me. I understand that you get distracted. This is just giving me more information on how your brain works. I felt better after she explained that, less like I was taking a test. Well, I have some ideas of ways we might be able to help you, Dr. Wallace told me after she finished all of the questions. Dr. Wallace went and brought my parents back in. It seems like the root of Destiny's problems is the schizoaffective disorder. I feel like if we can reduce the hallucinations and delusions, then the behavioral issues, like overdosing on pills, harming herself, and uncontrollable crying jags, will decrease. Because Destiny had positive results with Thorazine, I'd like to try a similar but more potent medication called Haldol. What I'd like to do is to have her take a dose every day, but then have a PRN as needed dose that she can take if she's struggling a lot. I also have some other ideas what to try if that plan is not successful enough. What I'm going to do is write up a report of my recommendations and mail you guys a copy of it. I'll also mail a copy to Destiny's regular psychiatrist, Dr. Wallace explained to us. When the report from Dr. Wallace came in a few weeks later, my mom had me bring it with me to Tessa. It said that my diagnosis was childhood onset schizoaffective disorder and explained that I suffered from auditory and visual hallucinations and occasionally some paranoia and delusions, as well as something called negative symptoms, which it described as difficulty socializing, difficulty motivating myself, flat affect, finding pleasure and enjoy not finding pleasure in enjoyable activities anymore, confused thinking, and difficulty performing activities of daily living. It said that I had undergone multiple hospitalizations and had been trialed on multiple medications with minimal results. The report suggested I try the Haldol we'd discussed, and also a trial of a medication called Tevenol for mood swings and agitation. The report went on to suggest some other meds to try if Haldol and Tevital weren't helpful enough. At the end of the report, she said we could try taking a drug called Clozaril as a last-ditch effort. I started the new medication, and things seemed like they were stabilizing for the first time in years. I was almost able to let my guard down. But then, when I was 6 months away from my 17th birthday, the bad man began to get really intrusive again. He didn't want me to live through my 17th birthday. You must not survive it. It is vital that you die before you age. Cinderella's chariot will turn into a pumpkin before midnight. You will die before your birthday. Do you really want your chariot turned into a pumpkin? He would hiss at me. Stop taking those pills. Your parents are going to die if you keep taking your Haldol. At first, I tried to resist his commands, but the louder he got, the more I worried that my parents really were going to die if I kept taking my Haldol and lived through my birthday. And she stores it all up, hides it in her cheek, then spits it out and puts it in a drawer in her room until she has enough Haldol and Tegatol to end her life swiftly before her birthday and save her parents' lives, the storyteller narrated. The longer I went without meds, the more convinced I became that I was doing the right thing. Then, one day, at the beginning of February, my mom mentioned to me that we were going to have a meeting at school that day. I just nodded my head as I followed my mom out the door and into the car. Talking was too hard. There was too much chaos in my head. Reality was a 1,000-piece puzzle with about 25% of the pieces missing and the rest all mixed up all over the floor. Hours later, when I saw my mom at Hartford Therapeutic Interventional School, the special school I went to for kids with mental illness, I was confused for a good 10 minutes before she reminded me that we had a meeting with Jen, my assigned therapist at school. I went on alert when Dan, one of the timeout room staff, followed us in and stood by the door. Brian, the head of the school, stood by the other door as my mom and Jen explained to me that they had put me on a wait list for McLean's program for early psychosis in Boston and a bed had just become available. And that is the end of chapter 3. So, what do you guys think? Looking for comments. Pluses, minuses, interesting, boring, add this, take this out. There was a grammar error here. This didn't flow, that didn't flow. Any comments? Yeah, I'm going to post again soon, Gabby. Don't worry, I'm going to post again soon. It gets exciting. I'm definitely going to post again soon. I'm so glad you love it. That's awesome. That's what I want. I want people to love it. I want people to love it, to get something out of it, to enjoy it, to feel something when they read it. Alright, well, I'll stop here. I'm starting to not feel so great, so I think I might need to take some intravenous steroids right now. Possibly. Starting to feel foggy. Or at least do something. I'm starting to fog over. Alright, well, I'm gonna end the video here. Yeah, I might need my intravenous Cortef. I usually only take it when I get an infection, but sometimes I have random periods where I need it anyway. And I possibly do have a UTI, which this might be telling me that I really have a UTI. So I should probably be calling a doctor and getting a urine culture done. But I think I can't make up my mind if I'm gonna wait until tomorrow, but then it's a battle to get a hold of the doctor, or if I just call someone tonight and ask them for an order for a culture. But something's not right about me right now. Alright guys, well, I'll see you soon. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. So much. Seems like only 2 people came, but you know what? That's alright. Because they're 2 really good people. And 2 really good people is a lot better than 10 really crappy people. So here we go. Let's end this video. Love you guys.